So how did your last new construction sale go? Awesome? Swimmingly? Or a little off? Well, this is Ron Wysokarski with Real Estate in a Nutshell, and I want to just breeze past a few new construction mishaps. It's interesting how we have oversights, despite all of the things we have in place for great lending practices and walkthroughs upon walkthroughs and punch lists. I am finding that most new construction deals, they're not really done when they're done. A couple of recent examples. And this one's a new one for me. Loan package sent a day early, and the buyers are asked to hurry up and wire 70 grand and hurry up and sign documents, come out of work and do it on a Thursday instead of a Friday because the loan's done. Great. Except for after the closing, they can't fund it because someone discovered that the final appraisal was never done. I don't even know how that happens, quite honestly. So the whole thing was put on hold, and then the appraiser said they couldn't get in the property, although it was open and we were there. There was no appraiser. And that went on throughout the weekend. So Thursday, no closing. Friday, no closing. Get to Monday. Well, they finally got into the property, but now the reports got to come in and go to QC, quality control. It wasn't until Tuesday before we had some sort of a funding, if you will, a dry funding, several days later. And I'm not sure how it closed or stayed within the contract terms or the lending terms or any of those 3-day rules that we're seeing. But this really happened. And then, of course, it was through an attorney's office. So you guessed it. The bookkeeper was on vacation for a few days. So, hey, several days later, Wednesday, Thursday, just getting around to funding the deal. Now, if you were the realtor involved waiting on that sizable check for an extra week, that might have been an unplanned surprise for you. But our customers are, our North Star and number one to us. Could you imagine rushing around on a Thursday, closing a day early, being excited, waiting for the balloons and streamers to come down at your closing, but you don't get your keys because it's not funded? So on Friday, and you're waiting around for this to happen, and it's still not funded, can't have your keys, and you think you've got till 5 or 6 o'clock because the lender's still working hard, but the attorney closes at 4. So even if they had gotten it done by, say, 4:30 or 5 o'clock, attorney's gone. There's nobody to fund this. There's nobody to give the blessing, so to speak. So now it's Monday. You didn't get to move in over the weekend. You're staying at a friend's place, and you've got kids. It's getting a little more difficult, and then you're still not funded. And by the way, the punch list was never really done. So Tuesday, Wednesday, they're still working on punch list items. Now, a week later, you've signed your papers, you've closed, but you haven't. And a week later, they're just finishing the punch list, and I think we might be funded on this one. I'm not sure how it all happened. I know it did happen. So despite all the safeguards in place, construction, it's going to have some mishaps to it. Now, that's just the tail end of the closing. And if you can imagine having 2 or 3 walkthroughs, and every time you go to the walkthrough, punch list is there, kind of looks like it did 3 weeks ago. Punch lists are not always something that the builders get to right away, and they can blame heavy rains or this or being busy. But it is frustrating when you're with your customer and there's a punch list and you go back 2 weeks later and not a thing on the punch list was done. But don't worry, we'll get it done in the next week. And a week later, it's not done. So by the 3rd walkthrough, a month of this has gone on and the list is intact. If anything, there's more. Now, new construction can be a great thing for your client. And all the, picking out all the choices and picking out the countertops and floorings, these are all awesome things. And I would never tell a customer, watch out for this and be afraid of that. I want them to have the best possible experience. But when you're doing everything that you can for your client, and despite your best efforts, this stuff still takes place, I'm not really sure how to work around that or with that. But I want to bring it to your attention that as we go to closings, they're not always what they appear. And sometimes a closing isn't actually a closing. And the most important thing is your client being happy and getting those keys and being able to move in. And, we all feel a little bit off, and it taints the experience. And that's not what we want. So, for us to uphold and safeguard all of our best practices for our clients to get the best possible experience, I think the best thing is awareness. And now that you're aware of just a few of the mishaps of the last couple of weeks, I hope that it helps you to have better conversations with the closing agents and the attorneys and the builders, so that way this happens less often, or even better, Never again. This is Ron Weiss-Sikarski for Beach House Consulting. Hope you're enjoying these videos. Click or comment below, and don't forget to subscribe.